Welcome to What Healthy Couples Know That You Don't, a podcast dedicated to helping you create the relationship you truly want.
Women Finding Love, the ultimate guide to successful dating. Dating can be exhausting. Meeting people and dating is a messy business. We humans desire connection, so let's improve your odds for success with online dating. Dating can be confusing with so many choices. The search for a partner can feel like an endless series of trial and error. It can leave you wondering if the right person will ever show up. Just one difficulty is the pressure of first impressions in trying to put your best foot forward. When do you reveal more, and when does it feel safe to be more vulnerable? We are so often easily misunderstood. The patience to really take the time to understand somebody else is a quality too often missing in today's frantic culture. Communication with someone you don't know can be another dating hurdle. Ghosting instead of explaining is just one ordinary habit that leaves the other person chock full of self-doubt. Without open and honest communication, even the most promising connections can fizzle out before they have a chance to grow. Fears of more honest disagreement means you might not know the real person behind the smile. There's also the challenge of distinguishing between genuine connections and superficial interactions. Dating apps offer convenience and a bigger pool of potential matches, and they often promote a culture of swiping, instant gratification, and judging people based on photos or all too brief bios. This shopping for a partner can end up being the goal instead of the work deeper connections require. In 2021, more than 50% of couples met online. According to the same national survey, a little more than 20% met in a bar or restaurant. Only 15% met through friends. This data is from the How Couples Meet and Stay Together HCMST project, which tracks down trends in American dating and marriage over time. Created by social scholars from Stanford and the University of New Mexico. This project has compiled and analyzed demographic and relationship information from more than 5,000 couples in America since 2009. Another difficulty is the emotional roller coaster that comes with dating. It's exciting to meet someone new and get your hopes up, which quickly can turn into the anxiety of wondering, are they interested in you as much as you are in them. Every relationship starts out with one person liking the other more, and that can be a difficult place. And yet, that is exactly what the work of dating requires, managing and coping with the uncertainty of what is really going on. That uncertainty can be part of dating for weeks, months, or even years. Not getting swamped by fears of rejection while playing Sherlock Holmes over every sentence the date has texted, the obsessiveness can be exhausting. Dating someone who lacks awareness about their own part of the problems in past relationships can be a very painful path if they do not want to look at themselves. They are likely to not grow and learn. As I've said many times before, real love is being willing to do the work of being a better person for the one you love. Not least, dating while juggling two schedules with a busy career can make just the logistics of having enough time together hard to sort out. With all of this difficulty in finding love, we have today's guest, Evan Mark Katz, become the world's first dating coach and relationship person in 2003, specializing in helping women create lasting love. He is the author of 4 books, not 3, not 2, not 1. His Love You podcast has nearly 3 million downloads, and he has been featured in hundreds of media outlets, including Today, the New York Times, and the Wall Street Journal. His coaching program is also called Love You, just the letter U. So glad you could join us today, Evan.
Rhoda, thank you for having me. I had so much fun interviewing on my podcast. I'm just looking forward to continuing the conversation.
Cool. So, why is dating more complicated for women in their 40s, 50s, and 60s?
I think a bunch of things happen by the time you reach your 40s, 50s, and 60s. And most people have had a failed marriage at that point, and that becomes your whole worldview. I had a conversation with a client yesterday where she spent 25 years in a verbally abusive relationship with men, an individual man, and that became the sum total of her experience. So she thinks that this is what relationships with men are like. Right. So when you have a bunch of negative experiences, either from childhood or in your marriages, repeating those patterns, that's going to put a different lens over how you view dating and relationships in men. So people think that they're getting wiser, but in fact that they're building up greater limiting beliefs about what's possible in love. And so those two things make it trickier. You're also going to have higher standards as you get older. You're going to be less likely to settle, but you're not really going to know too much about dating because you haven't dated in a really long period of time. And dating is its own skill set, which is different from the skill set of having a relationship. Factor in the idea that a lot of guys who are the healthiest ones stay in healthy relationships for a longer period of time, and then the pickings start to get slimmer as you get older as well. So the combination of all of those things, plus the ubiquity of online dating apps, make dating a real challenge for people as they get older.
Yes, I would agree. I also think, and I liked what you said about limiting beliefs, and I call those personal myths. And I like having another set of words to say the same thing because that might slip in for somebody else,
Yeah, no. If you call it a personal myth, and you probably have your own working definition of it. Mine is it's something that's partially true, but not totally true. It's not like you just made it up. It's not like it came from nowhere. It's not silly.
Right.
It just doesn't apply across the board to everybody. And in dating, very specifically in dating, there are no good men left. Men are just looking for one thing. Nobody wants to commit. Online dating is terrible. Unfair to people my age, my size. This city is the worst. There's no good people in my city. Right? Marriage is terrible. No one's happily married. And we can cherry pick and find evidence of all of those things. And that just washes away all the contrary evidence of those things, which we could easily shoot down.
That's right. I completely agree. What's your advice for women who keep attracting the wrong partners?
So the word attract is kind of a funny word in that it implies that people are like magnets who just attract people against their will. And they just come and they stick to you. And that's not how dating and relationships work at all. It gives the passive voice. I attract the wrong men. It means that you're suddenly blameless. Right? And now you might not be too blamed for why you were attracted to the wrong men. But that is a better phraseology. It's not that I attract the wrong men. Narcissists exist out in nature whether you want them to or not. Some other woman sees that narcissist and says, ugh, running in the opposite direction. You see the narcissist and go towards the narcissist and sleep with the narcissist and date the narcissist and marry the narcissist. So it is more not that you attract the wrong men, you're attracted to the wrong men, you double down on the wrong men, you think you could change the wrong men, right? And that's a losing battle. So take responsibility for why do I go for the wrong guys? At least with that level of awareness, you can make different choices down the road instead of being like, why does this keep happening to me?
Yeah, that's right. I agree. I find this to be true. What are your thoughts about why should women listen to their feelings more?
One of the interesting things about being a male dating coach for women, we joked, right? You said you were sending Valentine's to your girlfriends, and I said no guy has ever done that in history, sent Valentines to his guy friends. Men and women are different in some fundamental ways. There's 90% overlap. We're human beings. We want to be loved. We want to be respected and appreciated. But this is one thing that's actually really different. Women, for some reason, biologically, sociologically, I'm not going to be the one to answer the question as to why, are far more likely to doubt themselves and listen to their own feelings and talk themselves into things that really aren't working for them. Maybe it's guys' irrational confidence that comes with testosterone or something. The fact that every guy thinks he's an alpha male and a leader and could have every beautiful woman. Whatever delusions guys have, confidence is kind of a superpower. So for some reason, I work with a whole bunch of women, and it's not just me, who could be in a relationship, and it's like the frog boiling in the water slowly over time. One of my clients used that metaphor the other day, where I don't feel safe, I don't feel heard, I don't feel understood. I have to walk on eggshells. I can't relax and be myself. I'm afraid of bringing up topics. I feel like whatever I do is wrong. He's controlling me. I think I'm going to stay for the next 25 years. All right? So if you just say, listen to your feelings. Do you feel anxious? Do you feel like you have to walk on eggshells? Are you afraid to speak your mind? Are you afraid the next time you have a conversation, he's going to blow up at you or slam the door or break up with you? Why are you still in that relationship? So my job is half of it is getting women to listen to their feelings, listen to the anxiety, cut those relationships off, which frees you up to find a healthier relationship. All I know is this isn't it.
I also think it's about listening to that deep down intuitive voice that women ignore. Not just about anxiety and fear, but maybe it whispers to you. And the example I have is that when I was probably 10, it was the old days, and I walked an hour, mile and a half by myself to the village from my grandmother's house, who I visited. And there was a 14 or 15-year-old boy, and he said, come down and look in this culvert. There's a dollhouse down here. It's really cool. And I don't know why. I just thought, no, not doing it. But it was a intuitive, not afraid, no anxiety, just no, this isn't right. Mm-hmm. And I went home, and then I went back to my grandmother's house. I went back. I looked by myself a few days later, and there was no dollhouse. And that experience was so powerful. And so I think there is a voice that whispers to you, not always about fear or anxiety, but just an intuitive level that we women don't pay enough attention to.
Yeah. Gavin DeBecker, if you know who he is, he's kind of the world's leading security expert. He's the guy who provides security for, like, Jeff Bezos and the U.S. men's Olympic basketball team, and like that kind of like multi-million-dollar things. He wrote a brilliant book called The Gift of Fear, and it's very much about this women's intuition. I'll share something which again is not public knowledge and not something I think I've ever said on a podcast. I've been doing this for 20 years. I've had thousands of clients. I've had 2 clients who were sexually assaulted in all that time. So it's too many, but not a terribly high number given the fact that I encourage online dating. Both of them, after the fact, said they ignored their intuition and put themselves in situations where they knew something didn't feel right? And they were too polite,
I think polite's a good word, yes.
Extract themselves from a situation and not go back to the guy's home and not, right? So again, I'm not victim blaming in any way, but
no.
It was one of those kind of things where they were kicking themselves afterwards for a number of reasons, and that's an extreme example. We're talking about sexual assault, but the sort of the slow drip of an unhealthy, deteriorating relationship. A lot of people, and again, if I were coaching men, I'd say a lot of the same things. They hold on to and rationalize, well, he told me he loved me. Well, the first 3 months were really good. I remember those times. We had the strongest connection. And so we could kind of rationalize almost everything, because if we could find one point of light, we'll hold on to that one point of light and we'll forget everything else. A friend of mine, this is a tangent, but a friend of mine, it doesn't even exist anymore, created a dating app. It wasn't a dating app like a meet people app. It was called the Boyfriend Log. She wasn't a tech person, so she couldn't keep on updating it, but it was a brilliant idea. It was a calendar, 30-day months, red, yellow, green. how do you feel about your relationship today? And what she discovered, right? And again, I have nothing to do with this, right? What she discovered is she'd found a lot of women who had boyfriends who had months without any green. Very little joy. It was yellow, neutral. He called me today, everything's fine. Or it was red, negative. We were fighting. I haven't heard from him. I'm feeling really anxious. So if you have a relationship and, 6 out of 7 days are not green, what are you gaining from it?
Yeah, I really like that. That's really good. Because there's a lot of people that really don't recognize what's missing because they're so hungry, I think, to feel attached.
I think that's right. And you could build on to this based on your considerable experience. If you weren't given a template, if either your parents broke up or they stayed together but they fought a lot and wasn't a happy couple, you don't even know what healthy looks like. This is your template. Oh, every couple has their problems, every couple fights, right?
Yeah.
But it's not that kind of fighting. It's not the name calling and door slamming and it's again, I can't speak for you. I've been married for 16 years now. I can't remember the last time I had like a screaming fight with my wife. Maybe 5 times in 16 years. And all of those were repaired in like a half hour where I came back, honey, I'm sorry, let's start over. Right? Like that's the normal. It's not normal to have those things. It's normal in that it's common, but I think healthy couples have sort of built-in conflict resolution where 95% is very basic day-to-day agreeing, compromising, and then there's a few things that are sticking points that come up over and over, and you work through them. And so I think people's ratios are wrong. I think it should be like 90% easy and then 10% negotiable. And people in bad relationships think that 50-50 is a great relationship.
I probably would differ. I think there's also people who pride themselves on not having any conflict. And I just wrote a script for a podcast episode, and I think disagreement and conflict done respectfully is incredibly important. So,
I think that's a great point to make. And I think I'm sort of directionally trying to point people elsewhere where we've normalized dysfunction,
Yes.
the normalization of deviance, and
I
we say
agree with
that's
that.
okay, and we put up
Yes.
with it, and we suffer for decades. It's not that everything is perfect. I mean, I'm an opinionated New Yorker. There's never going to be a relationship where I don't speak my mind, and when you disagree with someone, of course there's going to be conflict. No two people think alike on everything, but it's how you manage that conflict and the kind
Yes.
of partner you have, whether you agree to disagree, de-escalate, like just take time to cool off, find some sort of middle ground. I'll give you this one if you give me the next one. It's stuff that you mentioned. Again, I'm quoting you back to you from the other day. You need people who are flexible thinkers. You need people who are compromised, not black and white, 1 to 10, that middle range. That's the only healthy ground. And if you have a partner who can't do that, between the time I spoke to you, I had a conversation with someone who basically just disowned me as a person. It was a political conversation, and I was trying to middle ground it. And she's like, "You're either with me or you're against me, and you're against me." And she started to attack me, and I was like, "Oh, this poor woman. She might think she's winning, but she's alienating every single person in her life because they don't pass the purity test because they don't agree with her." There's a reason that she's 40 and single. And it's not that she's a bad person. She just can't get out of her own way.
I just had a client talk to me about her sponsor and a really good friend doing that with her. And I think it's happening a lot right now. I really do. The whole purity. I like the way you put that. How can women attract quality, commitment-oriented men on dating apps?
So that's an interesting one. The word attract is the one I shied from before. I think there's two pieces when you're on a dating app because you're marketing yourself. There is an attraction component. People respond to your advertising or they don't. So there's a methodology for how you even post a photo. Um, Smiling works really well. I'm shocked at the number of people who think that they should look sort of mysterious or sexy or something like that. It's like, no, guys just want to know that if they reach out to you, they're likely to get a warm response. So a smile goes a very, very long way. Another thing that women often forget, especially at a certain age, is like I alluded to, the sex appeal, right? Women desexify themselves. They become mothers, they become grandmothers, and they forget men are still simple visual creatures. Sex is a component of a relationship. There was an old OkCupid study once upon a time that showed, it was fascinating. They've taken it down. I think they're embarrassed about it. But it was a study that showed that pictures of women with cleavage, right? It was more effective for women in their 50s than women in their 20s. Why? Because everybody in their 20s looks like that. And so it was a great differentiator with, here's the grandma who's in her sweater and shows a picture of her gardening. A woman who still had sex appeal in her 50s and 60s is a unique differentiator. And believe it or not, it doesn't mean that those guys are pigs. It works. So that's just the marketing piece. I feel like you want to respond.
No, I really think that's interesting. One of the things that I talk about is that women can flatline their sexuality. Estrogen is different than testosterone. And I think we forget that there's a difference to that. And I'm amazed at how many people don't have sex. Really, I am. I just am, because I think it's like a free way to enjoy yourself, and I just hate to see it disappear. And people just let it. So I was just thinking about that. I think that's really, I believe expectations. Oops, go ahead.
No, it's okay. I don't think I did a good job of answering my own question. So
Okay, go ahead.
So there was the marketing
Yeah.
piece, because we talked about quality commitment-oriented men, right? A smile and sex appeal doesn't guarantee quality commitment-oriented man. What it does is attract men. So we want to be Harvard. We want to have 100,000 applications for 3,000 spots.
Okay.
So if you're warm, you smile, you write a clever profile, great. Let's bring them all in. 90% of them are worthless. So the key to attracting a quality commitment-oriented man is learning to say no to the wrong men. It's not wasting your time. So it's my central metaphor is you're the CEO of your love life. This is your HR department, and you're saying this guy is not a contender to work at this company. Just because he's cute doesn't make him a good partner. Just because he's smart doesn't make him a good partner. Right? Just because he practices the same religion or has the same politics doesn't make him a good partner. So we say no to long distance. We say no to recently divorced or separated. We say no to I don't know what I'm looking for. We say no to the guy who's in midlife crisis and is looking for something to cling to. All these guys are hard passes, and that eliminates a lot of guys up front. So you don't have to spin your wheels and you don't have to waste your time. Now the remaining few men, let's pay attention to how bad those interns want the job, right? Does he follow up after a date? When could I see you again? Does he go from texting once a week to once a day? Does he escalate after a couple of really good dates to, I want to see you twice a week? Does he plan a couple weeks in advance? Is he talking about a future? Does he want to introduce you to his friends? Is he moving to take down his profile to commit to you in 4 to 6 weeks? This is a quality commitment-oriented man. That doesn't guarantee a lifetime commitment. But we really want to pay attention not just to how much I like him, my attraction to him, how much he likes me, first date attraction. The third part of that Venn diagram is his effort. And too many women, reward men based on their bio, their resume, their photo, the chemistry on the first date, and not enough, how bad does this man want the job? And we eliminate men on effort. And that will leave very few men, but the ones who are the sincere ones who like you a lot, want to see you again, talking about a future. And now all the questions go out. Where do I stand? What is he thinking? Now it's two people. Let's explore the relationship, but at least we're on the same page.
Yeah. You made a really good list of things there. I really like that. So One of the things I'm thinking about is expectations, and I think they can be a double-edged sword. They can cut through the dates who are not good enough, which is what you've been talking about. And expectations can also drown someone and be impossible to achieve. It's a complicated activity. You recommend raising your relationship standards. And so, could you say a little more about that? The reason this was important to me is because I know that I was looking for one thing, honest. That's
Right.
it. That's
And you'd been burned by that before.
Nope. I've never been burned by
Oh,
that.
okay. Because usually what you're looking for is the thing that burned you before.
Oh no. I what I say to people is, and I got smart too, like a bonus because I wasn't looking for that, but I was looking for honest. I think the thing that we talked about in when you interviewed me was that I met him volunteering, and I think volunteering is about character. So for me, honesty was about character.
Okay.
And so talk to me about expectations and your thoughts.
Great. So my opinion or observation is that, and forgive me if I said this to you before, I have a few things I lean on often. Women are very, very afraid, and understandably, of settling. And settling and compromising involve the exact same thing. They involve making trade-offs. The difference between settling and compromising is how you feel about the trade-off. Right? You compromise your way into happiness. Right? I don't live in the nicest house, but I live in a good school district, and I'm close to the freeway, and I'm all in a park, and right? It's a compromise. My job is a compromise. I love what I do. I'm self-employed, but it's really lonely working in an office by yourself all day long. Compromise. So in love, people tend to conflate compromise and settling, but we're compromising on the wrong things. Right? So we won't compromise on the external that we see on the dating app. Height, weight, age, education, income. We will routinely compromise on character, kindness, consistency, communication, commitment, connection.
That's true.
So all I'm doing is flipping. When we talk about raising your relationship standards, it's not that you deserve a man who's 6'4", self-made millionaire. That's not the standards. You deserve to be treated better. And if you have a guy who's a 6'4", self-made millionaire, and you don't have character, kindness, consistency, communication, commitment, you got nothing.
Yeah, that I agree. I really do. So tell me more about the 5 qualities that work for both women and men dating.
That's I got a step ahead of myself there.
Yeah, but is there anything else you want to add to it? Because I think those are 5 really important things, and I just wondered if you had any more to say about it.
Yeah, when I say character, kindness, consistency, communication, and commitment, the reason I arrived at those things, and it's not just because they all had the same hard K sound at the beginning, it's because, and I hinted at this when I was asking you about honesty, if I asked you, listening to this right now, to think about your previous relationships, the people that you loved, where it didn't work out, right? 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, right? But genuine love that failed for some reason. I could almost guarantee that the reason the relationship failed was one of those 5 things.
Okay.
No relationship fails because I wish he was 5'9" instead of 5'7".
And
I married a 5'7" guy, and the whole time I was just tortured by the 2 inches that I wish he was taller. Never, ever the cause of a divorce.
And that is the thing I've heard about the most from my women dating is he's not tall enough. I swear to God. Yes.
And in as much as tall equals masculine attractive, I get it. I'm not saying you should be with someone that you're not attracted to.
Right.
I also know, if we want to deal with the numbers, half of the population is under 5'9". Only 14% of the population is over 6 feet tall. That's male population. Only 14% are above 6 feet tall. I know this is a 5'9" dating coach.
That's great. I didn't know that.
Right. So we can, right off the top, lop off everybody under 5'9", because you're 5'7". And great, we've eliminated 50% of the dating pool. But then we have to eliminate the portion of the dating pool that doesn't have college educations. And that's 2/3. So now let's lop off 2/3 times 50% under 5'9". And now let's lop off every guy who doesn't make at least six figures. And that is another 90% that we're lopping off. So now it's 0.1 times 0.5. And now we're starting our dating pool at 0.01% of men. And that's before we factored in anything. So that's where this thing falls down. If we take each one as hard and fast rule, no guys under 5'9", 50%. No guys under $100,000, 90%-ish. No guys without college educations, 2/3-ish. Right? And we haven't gotten into whether he's nice or whether he has a sense of humor or whether he's attracted to you. We haven't gotten into anything, much less character, kindness, consistency, community. So this is the problem when we make these things based on those external things. I'm a Jewish atheist. If I played by that rule, I have to find someone like me? Well, Jews are 1.7% of the population. Atheists are supposed to be at about 5% of the population. I'm starting there. I didn't do that. I married a Catholic woman. We're really happy. We don't try to convince each other of anything. So to me, that's sort of a microcosm of everything. It's not that we're a special couple. We just didn't make these things into deal breakers that most people use as deal breakers. Right? I wasn't looking for a woman 3 years older than I was. Right? Most guys won't. Turns out that's where my happiness lied. And so the more we use these dating apps to filter out people to try to hone in on the perfect person, and who's the perfect person, Rhoda? The opposite sex version of you.
Clones. We want clones.
Right. So that's where it goes wrong. And so this is the way dating apps and people function. The problem is human nature combined with dating apps mean that we're extolling all these external things, which do matter in terms of basic attraction, but have 0% to do with whether you're going to be happy for the next 40 years. So I ask anybody listening right now, think about why your relationships failed. Rhoda, you said you didn't have an issue with honesty. My wife had been cheated on by 4 men before me. Mm-hmm. Right? So I think she really, really liked that I was an honest guy. For me, I had all these amazing girlfriends who said, Evan, I love you, but you have to change this and this and this and this and this. And my number one thing was, I want someone who accepts me as I am. Number one, number two, number three. I want someone who accepts me as I am. So is my wife the youngest person, thinnest person, most educated person, richest person? Nope. She's the only person who said, you're good.
I really like that. So tell me about deliberate dating, because I really like that idea, but I wasn't exactly sure what it means.
Yeah, I mean, it's terminology that I made up to describe something that works better than what we're doing right now. So right now, and it's understandable, we're a digital society, we're tethered to our phones, we're instant gratification, we don't have time to read, we don't have time to think, we want to know if there's chemistry. So dating reflects that. You go on your dating app, you pull up a face, you swipe right, you text, hey, what's up? How are you? Great profile. I'm not good at this texting thing. Want to meet? You go on a blind date for coffee with a total stranger. Could I think of a worse system for dating than that? I can't. Like that, we've reached peak worst system for dating. Right? And so everything I recommend is the opposite. I'm a dating maximalist. That's what deliberate dating is. How do we work backwards from what would I really like to see happen? So what I would like to see happen, and I'm old enough to remember the before times, I want to go on a date with someone that I'm excited about meeting. I want to reserve a Saturday night for someone that I've flirted with, that I've spoken with, that I've connected with, where there's trust, rapport, excitement, anticipation, where I'm a little nervous and she's a little nervous. And at the end of the night, right, I pick her up, I drive her home, right? When the restaurant shuts down, I kiss her goodnight at the front door. I say, I had a great time. I can't wait to see you again. That's a date. That's a fucking date. And why shouldn't we have that date? Well, you can't have that date if this is the way we're dating. It's not set up for that. So my methodology for dating is the way people used to date. It's a slower burn, but it's not long and drawn out. I did a TED Talk once upon a time. And Google Evan Marquette's No More Bad Dates. And it was about this topic, right? Men want speed. Women want comfort. Somewhere in that Venn diagram is a workable solution and compromise for both people. So what we want to do is make a connection on the dating app, not just one or two one-line texts. It's a conversation that resembles email, expressing opinions, observations, questions, banter, flirting, something. That makes enough of a unique differentiating connection that that guy can then graduate to get on FaceTime with you. Right? He earns the right to talk to you face-to-face on the phone. He doesn't earn a blind coffee date. You don't want to go on a blind coffee date with a total stranger. He's got nothing invested in you. He's going to ghost you. He's going to show up on the date. He's going to find out he doesn't like the way you look, and it's going to feel bad for everybody. So this is a screening process that doesn't take very long. It's like less than a week, but minimizes bad dates and maximizes better first dates. Make a connection on the dating site or app, longer form conversation leads to a FaceTime call. If you talk for 20 minutes and you want to slit your throat, good thing you didn't go on a date with him. If the 20-minute conversation lasts for an hour and a half, now your first date feels like a second date. You're really comfortable. You're really excited. It's a continuation of that conversation. You could let down your guard. You already know what each other look like. There's so much as nonverbal body language that's conveyed, and we have the technology to do that, right? And now you can go from a dating app to a Saturday night first date that feels like a second date that ends in a kiss, all in less than a week. So I'd rather you go on one of those dates a week than 3 blind Starbucks dates. And I don't know anybody who disagrees with that.
Wow. And I've never heard that advice before. I think it's really good.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, is there anything else you'd like to share with my audience today?
Man, Rhoda, you're asking the wrong guy. I'm really passionate about this. I have a course called Love You, which it's a massive online course. It goes from confidence, meeting men, dating, understanding men, relationships, commitment, right? It's like 10 3-minute videos or audio or transcripts, like half-hour a week to teach you everything you need to know. And so I can't jam that all into a podcast as much as I would like to. The women who turn to me are the women who really do have it all. They have wealth, they have education, they have good friends, they've got good relationships with their kids. This is the one piece of the puzzle they haven't been able to put together. And my take on this, despite all the podcast interviews that I love doing, is that most women don't need more information, right? Information is abundant. You could chat GPT the answer to a question. You could listen to 100 podcasts with really bright people. Most women that I know need more love, right? It's not just more ideas flooding your head or more self-help books. You need love. You need someone to take care of you, to hold your hand. So that's what I do for women as a coach. I hold their hand through a tricky process and lead them and help them break their patterns of choosing the wrong men and doubling down on bad relationships and giving up on online dating because they can't crack it or find it frustrating. And so anybody who has enjoyed this podcast, you can go to evanmarckatz.com/healthy for you and opt in, and I'll give you a free quiz on whether you're wasting your time with the wrong men. I think you already know the answer based on today's conversation. And if you were so inspired by this podcast that you want to talk to me directly, you can go to evanmarckatz.com/now, and you can book a time to talk with me about coaching options. But most importantly, I'm just very grateful to have met you, Rhoda, to be able to share this message, which is, again, very validating when someone with 40 years of experience says, I never thought about that before. That really means a lot to me. So thank you for allowing me to share.
I'm really glad you were here. Dating isn't just about finding the right person. It's about becoming the right person. Take a moment to reflect on what resonated with you today, and don't be afraid to step out of your comfort zone. Until next time, keep dating with intention. You can find me on all social media platforms at Rhodaon Couples. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you for listening to What Healthy Couples Know That You Don't. If you have enjoyed the show, please leave a rating and review on iTunes and help get the word out. To learn more or connect with Rhoda, visit therapyideas.net.